Imagine this. You sit down to dinner, a piece of grilled chicken on your plate, believing you're doing everything right to keep your muscles strong. But here's the surprising truth. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that after the age of 60, your muscles respond less efficiently to protein from meat alone. It's a phenomenon scientists call anabolic resistance. In other words, even if you're eating protein, your muscles may not be using it effectively. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Your body's ability to rebuild and repair muscle isn't just about how much protein you eat. It's about what kind, when you eat it, and the way your cells process those amino acids. This is where neuroscience and nutrition meet. Now, why should you care? Because weak muscles are not just about strength. They affect your brain, your balance, your energy, and even your mood. In fact, studies out of the University of British Columbia have linked muscle strength directly to better memory and faster thinking in older adults. This isn't just about looking fit. It's about keeping your independence, your sharpness, and your vitality for decades to come. Today, we're going to uncover the best sources of protein for rebuilding muscle after 60. And spoiler alert, it's not just meat. We'll explore how plant-based proteins, dairy, and even unexpected sources like collagen and certain fermented foods can unlock more muscle growth than you might expect if you use them strategically. We'll also dig into why your nervous system plays a key role in how you absorb protein, how timing your protein can supercharge muscle repair while you sleep, a neuroscience-backed trick to make your body more sensitive to protein again. And I promise, by the end, you'll have a daily, science-based protocol to start seeing and feeling stronger in just a few weeks. So here's my challenge. Stay with me, because one of the protein sources I'll share is so overlooked that most doctors never mention it. Yet it could be the missing link in your muscle recovery. Let's dive in. Here's a counterintuitive truth. After the age of 60, your muscles become pickier. The very same chicken breast or steak that once fueled your workouts in your 20s doesn't trigger the same muscle-building response today. This isn't because your digestive system suddenly forgot how to handle food. It's because of a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. Think of it like this. Your muscle fibers are doors, and protein is the visitor knocking. When you're young, those doors swing wide open with just a gentle tap. But as you get older, those doors get heavier and harder to open. You need a louder knock, or a different kind of visitor entirely, to get inside. Here's what the research shows. A 2013 study in the Journal of Gerontology found that older adults need a higher quality of protein, not just more grams, to achieve the same level of muscle protein synthesis, the process where your body repairs and builds new muscle tissue. The catch? Many traditional animal proteins don't provide enough of the essential amino acid leucine in a single meal to trigger that synthesis effectively for aging muscles. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is fascinating. Your muscles aren't just mechanical tissue, they're controlled by your nervous system. When you eat protein, your brain gets signals through a network called the motor cortex that it's time to rebuild. But with age, the signaling from the brain to muscle cells weakens, like a phone line with static. This blunted signal means the muscle doesn't hear the message to grow, even when protein is available. So what's the solution? We have to wake up those muscle receptors, and not just with more meat. Studies from McMaster University show that combining high leucine proteins, like whey isolate, with plant-based proteins rich in complementary amino acids, like pea or soy, can create a more complete signal to the muscle. In other words, by diversifying your protein sources, you're sending a clearer, stronger knock at those muscle doors. A simple tool to apply is, start thinking about protein synergy. Instead of relying solely on a single source at each meal, aim to pair them. Breakfast, a whey protein smoothie with soy milk. Lunch, lentils with a small serving of chicken or turkey. Dinner, salmon with a side of quinoa and spinach. Each pairing combines different amino acid profiles, effectively bypassing the door resistance of aging muscles. Imagine you're trying to light a campfire in damp weather. One match, meat protein, might fizzle out. But if you strike 2 or 3 matches, combining animal and plant proteins, you get enough heat to ignite the wood. That's exactly what we're doing for your muscles. One more science-backed tip. Space your protein evenly through the day. A 2014 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults who spread protein across 3 meals built more muscle than those who ate the same total amount in one sitting. This keeps your muscle protein synthesis machinery switched on longer instead of giving it one big push and letting it idle. So, meat still has its place, but it's no longer the sole hero of your plate. Think of it as a team player in a broader strategy. When you combine it with the right plant proteins and time your intake smartly, you're not just feeding your muscles, you're teaching them to respond again. Now, we'll uncover a protein source that isn't meat, fish, dairy, or soy, yet has been shown in clinical trials to directly improve muscle recovery and reduce joint pain. If protein is the fuel for muscle, collagen is the scaffolding that holds the entire structure together. Most people think muscle weakness is only about the muscle fibers themselves. But here's the hidden truth. Your ability to generate strength depends just as much on the connective tissue, tendons, ligaments, and fascia as it does on the muscle. And here's the kicker. By the time you hit 60, your collagen production can drop by more than 30%. This means your muscles might still have power, but the ropes attaching them to your bones are frayed. You feel weaker not because the muscle isn't firing, but because the support structure can't handle the load. Here's what the research shows. A 2018 study from the University of Freiburg in Germany found that older adults who took collagen peptides daily, combined with resistance training, gained more muscle mass and saw greater improvements in strength compared to those who took a placebo. The collagen seemed to enhance the integrity of connective tissue, allowing muscles to contract more efficiently. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is fascinating. Your brain's motor cortex doesn't just send signals to muscle fibers. It also monitors feedback from connective tissues. If a tendon or ligament sends a warning signal that it's unstable or inflamed, the brain automatically limits muscle activation to protect you from injury. This is why you can feel like you're trying as hard as you can, but the strength just isn't there. By strengthening connective tissues through collagen support, you essentially convince your brain it's safe to unleash full power again. Here's a simple analogy. Think of your muscles like a powerful car engine. Collagen is the suspension system. You could have a 1,000-horsepower engine, but if the suspension is weak, the car will never reach its full speed, and your brain, like a cautious driver, will never press the pedal to the floor. So where does collagen come from? While your body can make some on its own, production drops with age. The best dietary sources include collagen peptides or hydrolyzed collagen powder, most bioavailable form, bone broth, which provides gelatin and minerals, certain fish skins and scales, vitamin C, rich foods like bell peppers or citrus, which help your body build collagen. A simple tool to apply is add a daily dose of 10 to 15 grams of collagen peptides to your routine, ideally 30 to 60 minutes before resistance training or walking. Studies suggest that combining collagen intake with movement signals your body to send those amino acids right where they're needed, into the connective tissue you're actively using. Combine collagen with a small amount of vitamin C, even just a few orange slices or a handful of berries. Without vitamin C, collagen assembly in your tissues is incomplete, like trying to build a bridge without bolts. One more reason this matters for muscle recovery. Collagen's amino acids, glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, aren't abundant in typical meat cuts or plant proteins. They play a special role in reducing joint stiffness and inflammation, which means you can train or move more often without pain. Over time, this increased movement translates to greater muscle mass and strength. So collagen isn't just a beauty supplement. It's a neural safety signal and a mechanical reinforcement system. Without it, your muscles can't express their full strength potential, no matter how much traditional protein you consume. And here's the surprise. In the next section, we'll look at a plant protein that not only matches some animal proteins in muscle-building capacity, but also contains compounds that reduce inflammation in both muscle and brain, a rare double benefit. If this insight about collagen surprised you, make sure you subscribe. The next protein source we'll cover is going to challenge everything you have. When most people hear plant protein, they think of it as a compromise, something you choose only if you're avoiding meat. But here's the surprising reality. Certain plant proteins can match animal proteins in their ability to stimulate muscle growth and offer something meat can't: compounds that actively lower inflammation in your muscles and brain. And this matters, because inflammation isn't just about sore joints. Chronic, low-grade inflammation actually interferes with muscle protein synthesis, blunting the very process you're trying to trigger with protein. It also impacts the brain, slowing down motor neuron communication, meaning even if your muscles could grow, your brain's ability to signal them efficiently is reduced. Here's what the research shows. A 2019 study in Nutrients compared pea protein to whey protein in older adults during a resistance training program. The results? No significant difference in muscle thickness gains between the two, but the pea protein group saw a reduction in C-reactive protein, a key marker of inflammation. That's the hidden edge. Plant proteins like pea, soy, and hemp often come packaged with phytonutrients and antioxidants that directly target inflammation. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is fascinating. Your motor neurons, the wiring that sends movement commands, are insulated by a fatty coating called myelin. Inflammation can erode this insulation over time, slowing signal speed. Some plant-based compounds, like the isoflavones in soy or the lignans in hemp, have been shown in lab studies to reduce oxidative stress in nervous tissue, protecting that insulation. This means better wiring for your muscles to respond quickly and strongly. Here's a simple analogy. Think of your muscles like a computer. Animal protein gives you the hardware upgrades, bigger, stronger components. Plant proteins with anti-inflammatory compounds act like antivirus software, keeping the system running fast and glitch-free. You need both to get optimal performance. Which plant proteins are most effective? Pea protein, high in arginine, which improves blood flow, delivering more nutrients to muscles. Soy protein isolate, complete amino acid profile plus isoflavones for joint and brain protection. Hemp protein, rich in omega-3 fatty acids and magnesium, which aid in muscle relaxation and recovery. A simple tool to apply is adopt a one-plant protein meal approach. At least once per day, replace your primary protein source with a high-quality plant-based protein, ideally in a blended form for a wider amino acid spectrum. For example, breakfast smoothie, pea protein plus frozen berries plus spinach. Lunch, lentil and quinoa salad with olive oil. Snack, hemp protein shake with almond milk. Why blended is better? A 2020 review in Frontiers in Nutrition highlighted that combining multiple plant proteins, like pea and rice, creates a more balanced amino acid profile, making it as effective as a way for stimulating muscle growth in older adults. Pro tip: pair your plant protein with turmeric or ginger. These spices contain bioactive compounds that further suppress inflammation pathways, like NF-kappa B, creating an even better environment for muscle recovery. The mindset shift here is key. You're not replacing animal protein. You're strategically rotating sources to give your muscles the building blocks they need and your brain the anti-inflammatory support it craves. Over weeks and months, this rotation reduces joint stiffness, increases training tolerance, and protects your nervous system from age-related slowdown. Now, we'll break the common assumption that protein timing doesn't matter, and I'll show you the neuroscience-backed window where your body becomes a muscle-building sponge, absorbing amino acids more efficiently than at any other time of day. If this idea of using plant protein as both a muscle builder and inflammation fighter is new to you, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what plant protein sources you've tried. Most people focus only on how much protein they eat in a day, but here's the overlooked truth. When you eat protein, can dramatically change how much your muscles actually use. Think of your muscle fibers like little factories. They have shifts when the workers are fully staffed and ready to take raw materials, amino acids, and shifts when they're barely running. Research shows that one of the biggest mistakes people make, especially after 60, is delivering protein when the factory floor is half empty. Here's what the research shows. A 2015 study in the Journal of Nutrition found that older adults who consumed protein evenly across 3 meals had a 25% higher rate of muscle protein synthesis compared to those who ate most of their protein at dinner. Another study from Maastricht University revealed that taking protein within 30 minutes after resistance exercise doubled the rate of muscle repair compared to waiting 2 hours. And here's something fascinating from a neuroscience perspective. Your muscles are primed to absorb protein when your mTOR pathway, the master switch for muscle growth, is most active. This activation is strongly influenced by both circadian rhythm and neuromuscular activity. That's why protein right after training is so effective. The nervous system has just signaled, "We've got damage here, send resources now." What's happening in your brain when this occurs is fascinating. After exercise, your motor cortex sends heightened feedback to the spinal cord and peripheral nerves, creating a temporary hyperreceptive state in muscle tissue. Think of it like every door and window in the muscle factory being thrown wide open for deliveries. This open window lasts about 1 to 2 hours. Miss it, and those doors start closing again. A simple analogy. Imagine you're trying to deliver fresh produce to a restaurant. They're only open for deliveries between 8 o'clock and 10 a.m. If you show up at noon, they'll still take it, but the food won't be as fresh and might sit unused. That's exactly how your muscles treat protein. Timing affects freshness and usage. A simple tool to apply is post-activity protein. Within 30 to 60 minutes after exercise, walking, or resistance training, aim for 20 to 30 grams of high-quality protein, whey plus plant blend, or collagen plus plant if joints are sore. Even distribution. Don't save all your protein for dinner. Aim for roughly equal amounts at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, around 25 to 30 grams each. Pre-sleep boost. A 2012 study in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise found that consuming casein protein before bed increased overnight muscle protein synthesis in older men. This is like giving your muscle factory a night shift crew to keep building while you sleep. Pro tip: if you do resistance training in the afternoon or evening, pairing post-workout protein with a pre-sleep casein drink can double the repair time. If you've been eating most of your protein at one meal, try spacing it out for a week and see how your strength and energy change. Then comment your results so others can learn from your experience. Why this matters for the long term. Even small increases in muscle protein synthesis, when repeated daily, lead to measurable differences in muscle mass, strength, and mobility over months and years. And because muscle is metabolically active, this also supports a healthier metabolism, better glucose control, and even improved mood. Now, we'll cover a protein source that isn't widely discussed in fitness circles, but is backed by emerging research for improving not only muscle recovery, but also mitochondrial health, the energy engines inside every cell. When we talk about building muscle, most people think about the fibers you can see and feel. But deep inside each muscle cell lives something even more important for strength and endurance. The mitochondria, often called the powerhouses of the cell. They're responsible for converting the food you eat into ADP, the energy currency your muscles run on. Here's the overlooked connection. As you age, your mitochondrial density and efficiency decline. That means even if you have the muscle fibers, they can't perform at their peak because the batteries are losing charge. But certain proteins, and the nutrients they carry, can directly support mitochondrial health while also building muscle. Here's what the research shows. A 2018 paper in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that older adults who increased their intake of omega-3 rich proteins from fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel experienced improvements in both muscle function and mitochondrial efficiency. These proteins don't just supply amino acids. They deliver EPA and DHA, long-chain omega-3 fatty acids that help build the membranes of new mitochondria. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is fascinating. Your muscles and brain share a similar need for mitochondrial health. The same omega-3s that stabilize mitochondrial membranes in muscle cells also protect neurons from oxidative damage, keeping motor signals fast and accurate. In other words, you're not just improving muscle endurance, you're sharpening the muscle-brain connection. Here's a simple analogy. Think of your muscles like electric cars. The fibers are the car frame, but the mitochondria are the battery packs. You can upgrade the car's body all you want, but without better batteries, your range and power will always be limited. Omega-3 rich proteins are like installing a fresh set of high-capacity batteries. The most powerful sources include fatty fish, salmon, sardines, herring, and mackerel; shellfish, mussels, and oysters, which also provide creatine and zinc; plant-based option, algae protein powders, a complete protein with built-in DHA for mitochondria. A simple tool to apply is 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week, ideally grilled or baked to preserve omega-3 content. If plant-based, use algae protein powder or fortified plant proteins 2 to 3 times per week. Pair these with polyphenol-rich vegetables like spinach or kale, which help reduce mitochondrial oxidative stress. Pro tip: add a small amount of extra virgin olive oil or avocado with your fish or algae protein. Healthy fats improve the absorption of omega-3s, ensuring they make it into your muscle and brain cell membranes. Why this matters for recovery: after exercise, your mitochondria ramp up to repair muscle damage and restore energy levels. With age, damaged or inefficient mitochondria slow this process down, leading to longer recovery times and lingering fatigue. Supporting mitochondrial health means you can train more frequently, maintain higher intensity, and sustain muscle mass more easily. If you already eat fish regularly, drop your favorite recipe in the comments. You might inspire someone else to add it to their weekly routine. Now, we'll explore a protein that most people overlook entirely, a fermented source that not only aids digestion but also supercharges nutrient absorption, making all the other proteins you eat more effective. You can eat the best protein sources in the world, perfectly timed, perfectly balanced, but if your gut can't break them down and deliver the amino acids to your muscles, you're leaving a huge amount of potential on the table. And here's the thing most people over 60 don't realize. As we age, our stomach acid production often decreases, and our gut microbiome diversity drops. This means protein digestion and absorption efficiency can fall sharply, even if our diet hasn't changed. Here's what the research shows. A 2020 review in Nutrients found that older adults with reduced digestive enzyme activity absorbed up to 30% less protein from a given meal than younger adults. But, and here's the exciting part, studies also show that fermented proteins can bypass some of these issues. The fermentation process essentially pre-digests the protein, breaking it down into peptides and amino acids that are easier to absorb. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is fascinating. The gut and brain are in constant communication through the vagus nerve. When your gut absorbs amino acids efficiently, it sends a clear, strong signal to your hypothalamus. Resources are incoming. Let's start repair and growth. But if digestion is sluggish or incomplete, that signal is weaker, and your body may prioritize other needs over muscle repair. The best fermented protein sources include Greek yogurt or skyr, rich in casein for slow-release amino acids and loaded with probiotics; kefir, a fermented dairy drink with both casein and whey proteins plus a broad range of gut-friendly bacteria; tempeh, fermented soy with a full amino acid profile and low in anti-nutrients, making absorption easier; fermented plant protein powders, blends of pea, rice, or hemp that have been enzymatically treated or fermented for better digestibility. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine you're trying to unload a truck full of raw materials into your muscle factory. If the goods are in big, heavy boxes, it takes time and effort to unpack them. Fermentation is like having everything pre-sorted into small, ready-to-use packages, speeding up the process and making sure nothing gets wasted. A simple tool to apply is include 1 fermented protein source per day. For example, breakfast, Greek yogurt with berries; snack, kefir smoothie with collagen peptides; lunch, tempeh stir-fry with vegetables. Pro tip: combine fermented protein with fiber-rich vegetables. The fiber feeds beneficial gut bacteria, which in turn improve nutrient absorption and reduce inflammation, creating a more muscle-friendly environment. Why this matters for amplifying all other proteins. When your gut health improves, you don't just benefit from the fermented protein. You increase your absorption efficiency for everything you eat. That means the whey from breakfast, the fish at lunch, and the lentils at dinner all deliver more usable amino acids to your muscles. Over time, this compounding effect can be the difference between gradual decline and noticeable strength gains. If you've ever noticed that some proteins leave you feeling bloated or heavy, try switching to a fermented source for a week and see if you feel lighter and recover faster. Share your experience in the comments. It might help someone else. Now that we've covered all 6 science-backed protein insights, the final step is to tie them together in a powerful conclusion that reinforces the why, reviews the tools, and ends with a clear challenge for immediate action. We've just walked through 6 powerful ways to use protein not as a vague nutrient, but as a precise, targeted tool for rebuilding muscle after 60. We saw why protein timing matters, especially after activity, to trigger muscle protein synthesis when your body is most ready. We learned how complete amino acid profiles give your muscles every building block they need. No missing parts, no stalled repairs. We uncovered how protein plus resistance training is a partnership your body responds to faster than either alone. We explored collagen-boosting proteins for tendons, ligaments, and joints, because strong muscles mean little without strong connective tissue. We looked at slow-release proteins to protect your muscle mass while you sleep. And we finished with the secret amplifier, fermented proteins, to make all other proteins work harder for you by improving gut absorption. Here's the big takeaway. Muscle loss after 60 is not inevitable. The brain and body remain incredibly adaptive, but only if we give them the right signals. Every protein choice you make sends a signal to your muscles, your gut, and even your brain. Stay strong. Stay capable. Your 7-day muscle rebuild challenge. Track your protein for 1 week. Aim for at least 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. Include all 6 strategies at least once in the week. Pair at least 3 protein meals with light resistance training, even bodyweight squats or band work. Finish one day with a fermented protein and slow-release protein before bed. Notice the difference in recovery. Science shows you'll start feeling the difference in as little as 2 weeks, not just in muscle, but in energy, balance, and confidence. And remember, it's not about perfection. It's about sending the right signal consistently. Every day you follow this approach, you're telling your body, we are still in the game, and we're getting stronger. If you're ready to take the challenge, type, I'm in the comments, and share which of these 6 protein tools you'll try first. You might inspire someone else to start.